I'm going to go off and do a live demonstration to you about how CPD is managed in school, college and university IP. So what you should see now on your screen is a training site that we use. It's fully populated. It's based on school IP, but essentially very, very similar features and functionality for college IP and university IP. So we're assuming that this school is some way into their review period for this current academic year, and we're assuming that this school has been with IP for some time now. So I'm going to focus on first looking at CPD and how an individual can record their CPD. So I'm logged in as an administrator, and so I can see the My Staff tab. Now I'm going to click on All Staff, so I can see all staff within my school. And the person I want to focus on is Jessica Alcott. So clicking on her name will open Jessica's work area. So this is where Jessica gets to see all of her CPD that she has recorded and the CPD that other people may have recorded for her on her behalf. So all she has to do is navigate to CPD activities courses. And here a table of all of her CPD for this current year will be shown. So we've got the title. When Jessica comes back from courses in this school, we expect her to put the impact and feedback and give it a star rating. Very, very useful for the CPD leader to assess whether that particular provider or that particular course is worthwhile. And here in the type category, we can see that Jessica's been on several different external courses. So looking above the line, we've got the type of courses. We've got internal, self-explanatory, external out of school, internal in school. And then looking underneath the line, we have the category, who actually input this course. So we've got CPD Controlled, Use CPD Controlled there, we've got CPD Request, and we've got User Defined Cpd, 3 different categories. Let's first focus on CPD Controlled. So that is for the type of course that everybody has to do, or virtually everybody has to do, or large groups throughout your organisation. And that is being pushed out by the CPD controller. So it's courses like your annual safeguarding, the inset day, a series of workshops, training on a particular assessment piece of software. And it saves time. It saves time for the individual so that they don't all have to then go after their inset day, log on to school IP and record their training. The training's already been pushed out for them. The second one is CPD Request. So Jessica here has seen a course that she would like to go on about good behaviour management, and so she has sent out a request for that. Doesn't necessarily mean that it will definitely be applied. It's a request at this stage. So the third type, User Defined Cpd, is a course that Jessica has definitely been booked on as an individual, not as a group this time, and she has recorded that CPD herself. So 3 different types there. So I'm just going to show you now how Jessica would record her own CPD. She would go to What Next? She would add CPD activity course, and she would begin to fill in the type of course that it was. A full description here, so we can type that in, or it can be copied and pasted in, and we would set the CPD type here. So this CPD type for assessment is a school visit. She's visiting another school within her trust to review assessment. It's planned, she hasn't been yet, but she could be recording it after the event, or she could be recording the fact that she couldn't, in fact, attend after all. So it picks up automatically that it's user defined. There is no cost to the course because it's just a visit, but she will be claiming travel expenses back. She has to go on the train. There might be a link that you want to pop in there if it's a course, but not necessary. So if she's been to this school before, it will appear in the drop-down list. If not, then she would provide the evidence for that. And any relevant details. She is going towards the end of May. And it defaults from 9 till 5. Well, she can edit that because, of course, she's only going for the morning. Is cover required? Well, in this instance, no. She's already arranged cover with her teaching assistant for the morning. Does she want a reminder? Yep, she'll have one 7 days before, or actually we could change that to 5 days before. And is it linked to any other area? Well, yes, it is. It could be linked to one of her objectives. And it could be linked to a recent observation. So let's link it to the work scrutiny, and it could be linked to a standard or an area for development or an interim review, a blog, evidence, or other CPD activity. You can make as many links as you need. How will it help you reach your personal targets? More detail can be entered there. And how will this support overall department faculty targets? Again, more information can be entered there. We won't be entering impact and feedback at this stage. I'd expect Jessica to go in and do that after she's completed that school visit. I'm going to add that now. So that's been added. Here we go. Assessment, no impact and feedback yet. She's going on the 26th of May. It's a school visit and she has created that. So let's go on to having a look to see how she can make a request. Well, all of the details are exactly the same as we've just seen, but this time it picks up the category of CPD Request. Now, what's important when you're looking at the data provider and cover is if cover is required. So if that was to be filled in, then the request would follow 3 lines of approval. Now, these are set up in the admin settings when your school site is set up. First, the line manager would approve whether that request was viable. Then perhaps the cover supervisor would approve whether, yes, cover has been requested. Do we have the capacity? Yes or no? And then finally, the third line of approval would be the CPD leader. He would say, yes, I can see that you have linked it to relevant areas of A, your own performance management, but B, overall department or whole school targets. And so I see that this is a viable option, and only then would that request be fully approved and the course could then be booked. So we had an example here, CPD training courses, and if I hover over, I can see that that is still pending with either my line manager, my cover supervisor, or my CPD leader. And if that becomes approved, then I will be notified of that. So whilst we're still in the work area for Jessica, is also another area that can help record CPD development type of activities, and that's areas for development. So it's not quite CPD because we haven't identified a course, but what the areas for development module gives you is an opportunity to record any short-term, long-term or aspirational goals that Jessica would like to record there as an area for development. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will definitely turn into a course. It doesn't warrant a course, but what it does do, it alerts the line manager and it alerts the CPD leader for all of those areas for development that A, the individual staff member is recording for themselves, and B, that perhaps an observer of a lesson has recorded. So areas for development are pulled in from observations. They're pulled in from Jessica creating it for herself, and they're pulled in from the line manager creating an area for development for Jessica. And they can be as innocuous as starting lessons promptly, or it could be that you would like to be considered for your MPQH or perhaps an education master's. So it could be totally aspirational if you wish. Okay, what I'm going to look at now then, I'm going to look at what the CPD leader sees, because all of this information coming from all of the individual staff members is collated together for the CPD lead in the menu on the left-hand side here. So we started with CPD activities courses for Jessica, so we'll look at that first. So as you can see here, the CPD lead sees all of the activities courses coming from right across school. So we've got Jessica, we've got Sarah, Harry, Lisa, etc. So this table gives us information regarding the staff member, the courses that they've been on. Useful to be able to have a look at this list to see how many courses staff members have been on. Useful to have a look at this list to gain the impact and feedback and the star ratings. And then we can drill into type and category. What's really useful for the CPD leader is if we scroll to the bottom, we have a tally of the costs of CPD. Okay, so what else can the CPD leader do here? They can export that table into Word or Excel or a PDF, extracting data. They can make sure that the data is anonymized so that data can be shared and it can be manipulated. They can print a report of CPD activities, but also they can use this powerful filtering system to analyse just exactly what's going on in CPD. So let's have a look. I might want to find out about a particular department, how much is their spend on CPD, and I want to see how my art department are spending their CPD. Press search. So here it's returned the fact that my art department has spent just over £1,000 here so far this academic year. And I can see all of the people from the art department and all of their courses and if they've fed back and rated. But I might want to add another layer onto this filtering system here. I might want to see, well, actually, they've probably gone over budget. So I want to have a look now at the status and see what they've got planned, because there might be something unnecessary there that has to be cancelled. So all of this is still yet to be planned. So I can begin to have a look to see if any of that is absolutely entirely necessary. So it's very useful to me as a CPD leader to be able to use these filters with regards to my CPD planning. Okay, so I might also, let's clear all of the filters, might want to have a look at a particular staff member, because I've had a request in from a particular staff member and I feel as though they've been on quite a lot of courses already. I'm going to go to a staff member and let's see, Jessica's just put her request in and let's search. So Jessica has already been on a fair few courses this academic year already. £250 is her spend. So I'm thinking for the next request, I might take that information into consideration, that it does seem like she's been on quite a few courses already. Okay, now earlier we mentioned that each individual staff member can record their own CPD, but we also mentioned that it was possible for the CPD leader to push out CPD. And this is how you would do it. So in CPD activities courses still, we would go to what next. Now, if this is a new course, I would first add the course. Let's call it Assessment for Gifted and Talented. And we'd put some description in there. And by the local authority. And the CPD type is an external course. So it's picking up by default that we're pushing this out of CPD Controlled. The cost of the course is £185 per person. And the travel expenses, we're putting a limit of £10 on that. Most cost effective. And then we would continue to put the provider on. Luckily, we've used this provider before, and it is an all-day course. We don't require cover, and we'll keep the reminders on for 7 days. Now, the comments from me to push this out is that everyone must attend. And the overall outcome, we don't know that yet. That's something that I will collate as a CPD leader after the event. So that course has been created. Next, I need to go to assign a course. Now, as you can see, I've already got courses here. So I can use those courses again over and over again if it comes up again. But this time I'm going to go to the one I've just created, go to next, and I'm going to add all staff members in there, apart from I know that Anne is on maternity leave, and I know that Phil is off on long-term sick. And I'm going to push those over to add all staff members. Next, it's planned. We're not there yet. Go to next. Just asking me to do a double check. Happy with that. I'm going to assign that course to all members of staff. So that course is now assigned. And I can check that because if I go back to Jessica, just by hitting my back button, Jessica will now have that as well as every other member of staff in her CPD activities. So she knows that that's coming up. She can click on and she can have a look at any notes that have been added there, where she needs to get herself to, where it's linked to if necessary. Okay, so going back to the CPD leader, we did mention CPD requests earlier. So the CPD leader will get an email alert notifying them that a member of staff has requested a course. And the CPD leader will be prompted to log in and have a look at the request. So we can see that Jessica has CPD course on good behaviour management that was pending, if you remember. And we can see that it's pending with the cover supervisor and the CPD leader. So the line manager has approved it. So I'm going to have a look. And okay, I'm going to let Jessica go on this course because she's got a good reason. I can click into the details and I can read all of the details that Jessica's entered here. I can see that she has linked it quite adequately to some of the performance management and the wider school issues that have been going on. So I'm going to change mine to approved. And so it turns green. Now that sends an email to the cover supervisor, who will then be prompted to log in and have a look at her cover roster, see if that's applicable, and then she would change that to either approved or rejected. And then your internal systems kick in then to book the course or not, as the case may be. So again, we can see on this page here, you can export that data into Word, Excel, etc. And you can use your filters in a variety of ways in order for you to get the information that you need. Last but not least, areas for development. So we mentioned that when we were looking at Jessica's work area as an individual member of staff. And again, we have a page that might be becoming more recognisable to you now, where we can review all of the areas for development data. We can see if there is any similarity in focus. So this would tell me as a CPD leader, perhaps we could run some training on something that's coming up on a regular basis. So that's where your focus list could be really useful. You could filter on your focus list. And I might decide to put some training on for that. So to encourage students to verbalise thinking and learning, I might put on some of the courses that I've set as a CPD leader, and I might suggest that Consistently Good Lessons would be a good course for Thomas Frost to book himself onto. So I can use areas for development to then dictate the courses, and then I would assign a course, Consistently Good Lessons, to Thomas Frost in the way that we have just seen. Really useful for me as a CPD leader. And again, printing out the report allows me to share that across several members of staff, both inside and outside of the use of IP. So essentially, they're the most important areas for the CPD leader and for the individual in a school, and it brings together user-defined courses activities, CPD request, areas for development, centrally allocated courses and activities, that was the CPD Controlled, and a whole organisation reporting and analysis, and that's where we looked at the filters.